she heard a second set of footsteps matching her own. At first, she thought it was her imagination. The way the old floorboards groaned beneath her socks sometimes tricked her into thinking the house was moving with her. But when she paused in the hallway, listening to the faint hum of the refrigerator from the kitchen, the echo didn't stop. Another set of steps, soft, deliberate, perfectly synchronized, continued behind her, following each stride like a shadow of sound. She froze, her hand hovering over the doorknob to the guest bedroom. The polished wood felt cold, slick against her palm. The footsteps behind her halted as well. For a moment, there was nothing but the low drone of the fridge and the muted ticking of the wall clock. Then the sound began again as she continued down the narrow corridor, tiptoeing on the edges of the rugs, heart hammering. Step, 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 step. It was impossible. Her apartment was empty. Her cat, who usually stalked the shadows of the living room at night, was curled up asleep on the sofa, the rise and fall of its sides the only sign of life. Her phone lay on the kitchen counter, its screen dark, silent. She considered calling someone, but a strange, instinctive warning held her back. Instead, she moved toward the living room, each step careful, deliberate. Her own movements became a kind of signal. Step, step. The mirror above the fireplace reflected her back. A solitary figure in sweatpants and a t-shirt, but the reflection seemed slightly off. Step, step. She tried to convince herself it was a trick of acoustics, the way sound carried through the wooden beams and narrow hallways. But when she stopped to tie her laces, the footsteps stopped, too. A pause, deliberate as if whoever or whatever was mimicking her knew exactly when she would pause. She crept toward the kitchen, the linoleum cold beneath her bare feet, fingertips brushing against the edge of the counter. Step, step. The sound followed, matching her rhythm with unnerving precision. She turned abruptly. The living room was empty. Shadows pooled in the corners, dark and inky, shifting as the ceiling fan swung lazily overhead. She could feel her pulse in her ears, in her throat, in her shaking hands. Another step forward, the hardwood groaning under her weight, and again, the footsteps behind her, echoing perfectly. She tried to tell herself it was her mind, a delayed acoustic reflection. But the timing was impossible. The sounds were too precise. In the bathroom, she flicked on the light. The tiles glistened wetly from the residual humidity of the shower she hadn't taken yet. She leaned over the sink, staring at herself in the mirror, trying to ground herself. Step, step. There it was again. She spun around, expecting someone, or something, to be there, but the room was empty. The bathtub, still half filled from a forgotten soak earlier in the day, gleamed in the fluorescent light. She edged toward the hallway, heart hammering against the ribcage, and the footsteps fell into sync immediately. Step, 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 step. In the living room, she crouched behind the sofa, listening. The house was otherwise silent now, except for the low hum of the refrigerator, a distant drip from the bathroom faucet, and the rhythmic duplication of her own movements. Step, 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 step. A strange thought occurred to her. The footsteps never preceded hers. They never initiated a rhythm, they only followed, almost as if they existed solely to mirror her. Her mind raced with domestic paranoia. Could someone be hiding in the apartment? She had checked every closet, every cupboard, every crawlspace last week when the maintenance man had complained about the heating vent. But the timing, so precise, so impossibly exact, wasn't human. No intruder could replicate her every movement so perfectly. She grabbed a kitchen knife, the handle slick in her sweaty grip, and crept down the hallway again, trying to confront the source. Step, 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 came immediately after each of her steps, never before, never in error. She reached the guest bedroom door and flung it open. Empty. The bed neatly made, curtains drawn tight. She could feel her breathing in the room, sharp and uneven. Step, step. The sound had stopped behind her now, but it lingered in her mind like a pulse. She backed into the hall, staring at the long stretch of floorboards. Shadows from the dim overhead lamp pooling like ink. Step, 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 step. The rhythm returned when she took a tentative step forward. Her eyes were drawn, unbidden, to the hallway mirror, a full-length panel near the front entrance. She hadn't paid much attention before, but now, under the sickly yellow glow, it seemed different. Her reflection mirrored her movements exactly, yes, but there was something subtly wrong. A fraction of a second behind, perhaps. A hesitation, a tremble where her body did not tremble. Step, step. And then, impossibly, she realized. The second set of footsteps wasn't behind her. It was inside the reflection. Her mirror image was taking a step, a heartbeat after she did, perfectly synchronized with the phantom sound she had been hearing all along. Panic surged. She bolted, running down the hallway, but the mirror followed. Step, 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 step. Her own feet pounded the floorboards, yet the reflected footsteps, silent now but undeniably there, matched her movements in the glass. Every turn, every pause, every shift of weight was mirrored, as if she had become a puppet of her own reflection. She tried to smash the mirror with the knife, shattering the glass into jagged slivers, but the shards only multiplied the reflection, each fragment showing the same delayed, synchronized steps. Step, 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 step. She dropped the knife, clutching her head, shaking violently. Then silence. Her reflection froze. The hallway was empty. Her own breathing roared in her ears. She sank to the floor, trembling, glancing at the walls, the ceilings, the closed doors. Nothing moved. The cat remained asleep on the sofa. The hum of the refrigerator persisted. She thought perhaps the episode had ended. Perhaps it had all been a trick of shadows and nerves. Then, from behind her, soft, deliberate, impossibly synchronized, came another set of footsteps. Step, 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 step. She dared not look. And yet, the sound came from inside the mirror. Her eyes darted. There she was, her reflection, smiling. A stranger's voice came through the baby monitor saying, "I'm inside." At first, she thought it was static. The monitor had been glitchy all week. Soft bursts of hiss and crackle that made her jump in the otherwise silent apartment. But this was different. The voice was deliberate, calm, too close. It carried a familiarity that was impossible and horrifying at the same time. She froze in the hallway, the warm glow of the night light in the nursery spilling faintly onto the carpet. The baby, sound asleep in the crib, stirred but didn't cry. The apartment was otherwise silent. The only sound the low hum of the refrigerator from the kitchen and the occasional creak of the heating vent. "Hello?" she whispered into the monitor, her voice trembling. The static hissed for a moment, then the voice repeated, clearer this time, "I'm inside." Her stomach dropped. The monitor perched on the dresser beside the crib, blinking softly, innocuous as ever. The nursery smelled faintly of baby powder and lavender from the plug-in diffuser. Nothing in the room suggested intrusion, no open window, no sign of forced entry. Yet the words crawled over her skin like ice. She gripped the monitor, pressing the button to speak. "Who is this?" Silence, except for the faint hum of the monitor itself. Then a whisper, closer now, almost like it was coming from the air around her. "Don't turn around." Her pulse leapt into her throat. She glanced at the hallway mirror near the nursery door. Dim shapes of toys littered the floor. Soft animals, plastic blocks, the tiny rocking horse by the crib. Shadows pooled in the corners, stretching and twitching as the night light flickered. She backed toward the nursery door, pressing the latch shut behind her. The monitor's soft static continued, but the voice didn't repeat. Not yet. She clutched it, turning in a slow circle, listening to every faint creak and sigh of the apartment. The living room beyond was dark, the curtains drawn tight, but faint moonlight outlined the furniture. A floorboard groaned. She jumped, holding her breath. Another one across the hall. She knew every squeak of the old apartment by now. This one was unfamiliar. Step. The monitor crackled again, soft static filling her ears. Then the voice, "I see you." Her fingers trembled on the buttons. The baby stirred, whimpering now, and she rushed to pick it up, holding it close, rocking gently. The monitor was still blinking, silent now except for the low hiss, like a pulse. She checked the doors locked, windows latched. The hallway was empty, the air heavy with the faint scent of her cleaning products and the lingering warmth of the heater. And yet, the voice persisted, in her mind as much as through the monitor. Another static burst, followed by a whisper, "I'm behind you." She spun around. Nothing, just the nursery wall, toys scattered on the floor, the crib against the far side. The monitor sat blinking, innocuous. Her heart raced, thundering in her ears. Step. Something, someone, was moving outside the nursery, soft and careful, deliberate. She backed toward the door, still holding the baby close, pressing herself against the wall. Another creak from the hallway. Step, step. The monitor's static grew louder, crackling like it had a life of its own. Then the voice, calm, almost affectionate. "You can't hide." She fled toward the kitchen, baby in her arms, glancing wildly at the darkened apartment. Every room looked the same, shadowed corners, furniture looming like silent sentinels. The monitor had fallen from the dresser, laying face up on the carpet, still blinking, still alive. She grabbed it instinctively, holding it close. Static filled her ears, masking her own ragged breathing. Step, step. From the living room, she pressed herself against the wall, eyes darting. Nothing moved. The apartment was quiet again, too quiet. Then, through the soft hiss, the voice returned, "I'm on the other side of the door." Her hands shook as she checked the locks again. All secure. She tiptoed toward the bedroom door, hand trembling on the knob. Step, step. The sound matched her own movements, echoing too precisely to be coincidence. She glanced down at the monitor. Its speaker crackled, and the voice whispered one last time, "I'm right here." The hairs on her neck stood on end. She spun around. Empty hallway. The moonlight showed nothing. She held the baby tight, pressing herself against the wall, listening. The static continued, but now it was different, soft, almost satisfied, like a presence lingering just out of sight. Hours passed. Every noise, vent hums, refrigerator whir, floorboards, made her jump. She dared not sleep, not even close her eyes fully, clutching the monitor and baby like lifelines. Morning came slowly, the first pale light through the curtains weak and hesitant. She checked the apartment, still locked, still empty. The monitor sat on the floor, blinking innocuously. She picked it up. Static hissed. No voice. She sighed, relief washing over her in fragile waves. Then, from the monitor, a soft whisper, almost intimate, almost casual. "I didn't leave."